Welcome to Nothing to Be Found, a space where we meet what's already here, where we loosen the masks, the armours, the stories, and remember that heart that's beneath them all. I'm Samuel Jimson, a yoga teacher, poet, father, friend, and someone who's still learning very much how to soften. And today's episode is about a practice that's helped me cry like a child and parent like a man, I suppose. It's about metta, loving kindness. And not the fluffy kind, but the kind that undoes generations of conditioning. It's a powerful practice. So a few years ago, I was in Rishikesh, and it was a few weeks into my 300-hour yoga teacher training. And that day, I remember we'd done a lot of deep hip opening work, both in our asana practices and our adjustment and alignment classes. And whether it was emotional release or just mere exhaustion, I was already raw. I was already feeling very open. But later that evening, our meditation teacher, Deepa, who is a small, gentle lady with this powerful presence, she led us into this metta practice, open heart, loving kindness practice. And at first, it was familiar. Like, I've cried before during metta, but my practice at home it's usually just like a few tears trickling down the cheeks, like a quiet tapping into this grief I tend to sidestep, if you will. But this time it was like something cracked wide open. And I remember we were doing we were bringing someone to mind that we have an uncomplicated relationship with, who we love deeply, and we really want to wish them well. And it was the image of my son that came to mind. And with it, there was this wave of emotion that didn't stop at sadness. And then there was like this remembrance of the version of me as a small child and a lot of the things that I've been through. And it didn't stop at sadness. It was like there was this grief, this old pain, these stories that I didn't know I was still carrying, I suppose. And for once, it didn't stop. And normally I tense and bury and swallow and like big boys don't cry, you know the whole thing, like get on with it, control, power, pride. And that was the world I grew up in, I suppose. But this time it was just, I was cracked wide open, stayed on my bolster. Everyone else had left the room. And I just broke. Like, I was gone. Deepa came over and I cried on her shoulder. I really bawled my eyes out. I was like a child, a small child, like a 5-year-old. Like, I don't think I cried like that since I probably was about 5 years old. And then some of the others, Vika, a few more came over and they just held space. And I remember having this group cuddle, and there was no words, no fixing. Like, oh, stop crying, you're okay. It was just being held, just with this presence. And I realized that like, all this armor that I'd built as a man, as a father, as a human, trying to make sense of this world, it wasn't protecting me. It was fucking suffocating me, like strangling the shit out of me, like the pressure, the weight. And I think metta may sometimes get misunderstood. People think it's about saying nice words or pretending to feel love. But the real practice is not about how you feel, it's about how you show up. It's radical. Metta is radical. It's strong stuff, and it's choosing attending us in a world that rewards performance and polish and striving and hustle, and it's turning towards what hurts and not closing. It's saying, "May I be safe. May you be free from suffering." even when we don't feel it, even when the person we're thinking of is someone we resent, even when that person may be ourselves. And because this practice, it doesn't just heal emotion, it retrains the nervous system. It builds empathy like a muscle. And science tells us, and I don't want to get too much into science because I'm not a scientist, but that compassion practices actually increase the vagal tone, which is linked to safety, connection, resilience. But beyond the studies, beyond the science, like anecdotally, like here's the truth that I know personally. And that's when I soften towards myself, like I soften towards life. And growing up, there wasn't much room for softness. Like you survive through logic, answers, control, to power through, to mask. And I became an expert at appearing okay, even when I wasn't. And that armour stayed with me through adolescence, fatherhood, teaching. The armour of certainty, of being the one who holds it all together, who knows all the answers. But you can't breathe inside armour. You can't feel. Metta, slowly, painfully, beautifully, helped me take some of that armour off. It reminded me that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's presence. And presence with feeling that strength. And Metta hasn't just changed how I relate to myself, it's changed how I parent. And don't get me wrong, I'm still reactive sometimes, still getting caught in those old patterns, still forgetting. But more and more, I can meet my kids where they are, not just from the mind, like trying to fix their shit logically, but from the heart, with empathy, with a breath, with a pause before the old story kicks in. Because Metta isn't about being soft all the time. It's about being aware of that softness that's already here, that's always there, underneath. And here's the thing, that society doesn't reward loving kindness. It rewards productivity, performance, image. And we're living inside this colonial hangover, a culture of me versus you, mine versus yours, divide and conquer, survival of the fittest, nationalism, consumerism, spiritual materialism, all built on this myth of separation. And even spirituality gets hijacked. People selling manifestation as a way to get more shit, to get more stuff. But here's the question I keep returning to, like, why aren't we manifesting peace in Gaza or Lebanon or wherever else is fucked, or clean water for all, or why are we not manifesting like more compassion, more kindness? And Metta brings us back to that. It breaks that spell of me and reminds us of we. It reminds us that we belong to each other. And I don't practice Metta every day. Sometimes get into that performance culture mindset of thinking I should, but I don't. I don't practice Metta every day. And sometimes I go months without it. But when I get too heady, too disconnected, too obsessed with control, I find myself called back. And then when I do, I return to the simple structure. And generally when I take a Metta practice, it's someone I love, someone neutral, someone difficult, myself, and then all beings in all times, in all spaces. And sometimes if you ever come to one of my yoga classes, especially in some of the gentle and restorative classes, I like to offer a Metta meditation, a Metta practice during a supported bridge with the heart open. And the practice of meditation is not to fix anything, not to escape. It's to feel, to connect, to remember. So wherever you are right now, maybe placing a hand on the heart, optional of course, but just feel the breath beneath it and if you like, you can think of someone that you love and whisper the words in your mind, may you be safe. And then think of someone that you've forgotten. May you feel loved. And then think of someone who's hurt you. May you be free from suffering. And then to the whole, all beings in all times and all places. May all beings in all times and all places be free. So thank you to listening. Thank you to listening. Thank you for listening to this episode on Nothing to Be Found. And if this touched something in you, I invite you to sit with the guided meditation. I'll be releasing that this coming Monday. It's a loving kindness practice to reconnect with yourself and all beings. But until then, don't forget, presence through vulnerability is not weakness. It's the beginning of wholeness.